Okay.
Okay, looks like we're going. Okay, good morning, you guys. We are going to go ahead and get started with this powerful mastermind this morning. So I wanted to introduce our guest speaker. Last week we talked a lot about kind of short sales and looking for opportunities in this shifting market. So I reached out, and a lot of you guys wanted some more training on that. So I reached out to Kyle Harrison. If you don't know who he actually is in our office. He is also an international MAPS coach with Keller Williams. He is also an investor extraordinaire. So he's been in the business for about 14 years. He is actually from Illinois, graduated from Illinois State. Is that correct?
Yes.
And now he now owns close to 400 doors. So he knows investments inside and out. And then also, like I said, he's a MAPS coach, so productivity, things like that is definitely up his alley. So wanted to invite him to talk to us today. He's also one of my very good friends, so I really appreciate you doing this. Kyle, take it away. What you got for us?
My pleasure. Yeah, no, thank you, Terry, and appreciate the opportunity to be with you guys today. And for those that don't know what MAPS Coaching is, it's the largest coaching company for Keller Williams. So we exclusively coach Keller Williams agents all over the country. And really all over the world. There's 4,200 KW agents and leadership that we coach. And then also there is a MAPS business side, so outside of KW. Anything real estate pretty much outside of KW is coaching as well. So I coach other businesses outside of KW and then coach 40 KW agents as well throughout the country. So Terry, thank you very much for the kind words and the introduction. And I feel the same way about you as a great friend and appreciate the opportunity to be with you guys today. And it sounds like we are fairly new in the business. Who's actually in the room? Is that still correct?
Yes, I would say everybody's fairly new.
Yeah. So we're not gonna go into the weeds of like short sales or distressed properties and really dive deep. We're gonna give you just mostly an overview. So I don't want to blow your mind on like, oh my gosh, it's paralysis by analysis. So I just wanted to touch on a few things and really look for the opportunities in this market. I think Utah is a little bit insulated. However, there's still some big numbers that are coming out right now with just with unemployment, forbearance, etc. So if you guys are taking some notes, get out the note card and just start writing down some numbers here that I'm going to give you. The first number I'm going to give you is 22 million. And that should probably head to about 30 million here in the next 30 days. And those are the numbers of the unemployment right now. And anybody who did real estate in 08, 09, 2010, this is higher than that market. And I'm not here to scare you. I'm just here to give you some reality and some statistics of what may be coming down the pipeline. And how do we prepare ourselves for that? Another thing here I'd like just to open up as well. If you have questions at any time, this is really participatory. I'm not here to give you a webinar or just a standard teaching. I'm here to really engage you and answer any questions that you may have for that. So 22 million to 30 million, write down this number, 3.4 million to 15 million. That is the number of people in forbearance right now. And they're expecting 15 million people to miss their mortgage payment here in the next couple weeks.
Can you explain a little bit about what forbearance is, Kyle?
Sure, yeah. Forbearance, well, there's a couple ways you can take this. Forbearance is basically a bank saying you can miss your mortgage payment for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And there's a balloon payment after the end of that term. So for example, if your mortgage payment is $2,000 a month, you can do a forbearance for 90 days. So at the end of that 3 months, the bank is saying that you need to come up with $6,000. So that's basically what a forbearance is. Now the CARES Act and some of these things are saying, no, the bank has to just basically tack it on to the loan for the end of the loan. However, there's still a lot of information coming out saying some banks are requiring that. So it's basically forbearance is people just missing their mortgage payment. They're potentially heading into a foreclosure situation. In addition to that, that's not even accounting for the renters that are missing payments right now to their landlords. So, there's a lot of commercial loans out there that are probably not being paid that we don't get to see because it's not a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac style loan. So this number is going to balloon very quickly. So what does that really mean? That means be prepared, and be prepared on talking to your clients about this. I would say the number one thing with forbearance and distressed properties, anytime you're dealing with clients, is there's a lot of scaredness. There's a lot of embarrassment, and we have to walk into some questions with our clients right now saying, hey, this could be the potential. Do you or someone you know may be in a financial struggle of paying their mortgage payment? If they are, at that point, get a professional like myself, Terry, whoever that really understands distressed properties to help you through that. Now in 08, 09, 2010, I completed about 400 short sales, and I own a company called Short Sale Pros, which is a negotiating company for agents. So again, if you're not understanding how this all works, make sure to get a professional involved with that conversation to be able to help you through that. So these are some big numbers, and I think Utah will probably be fine. The only challenging that we see here, and especially in this market here, is prices are going up a lot higher than incomes. And even if there is unemployment, I mean, there's going to be some companies and some jobs that are just not going to be made, or I shouldn't say, there's going to be some companies that are not going to make it through all this. When you got big airlines and big companies talking about bankruptcy, things are just not good, or potentially not good. So the market's really hot right now. Things are hopping. Yet, what does 3 and 6 months look like? Moving forward. So, what is really the process of a short sale? As an investor of about 400 doors, our investment group owns about 400 doors. We picked up 200 doors during 08, 09, and we bought those from banks, and we bought them for about 25 cents on the dollar. So there is a tremendous opportunity. And I would say, as newer agents on this call, start to really understand, if you have investors or people with cash, start to really understand what their investment opportunity is, or what do they want to accomplish. So if there's anybody out there that that is wanting to invest or buy, or some of those things, really start to understand what their goals are and what is it that they really want to see. Now, I can go into an investing world, and I'm not going to go too deep. Typically, investors have their own lane. And what I mean by their own lane is they're very specific on what they want. Now, everybody wants a good deal and a great opportunity for a short sale or a foreclosure or anything of that nature. Yet you've got to really understand, what lane do they want to stay in? Do they want to invest in single family? Do they want to invest in multifamily? Are they commercial? Are they mixed use? Are they land? Really start to understand, what is it that they're comfortable with investing in. A lot of people start, especially new investors, start with single family, and then they start to move up to multifamily. For my lane that I stay in 2 lanes. And I'm just giving you an example here so you can start to understand the conversation that you can start having with your people. My lane is value add property. So I like the dumps where things are just not good. It's run down. Maybe it's in a good location. It's run down. We need to put a lot of capital into it to bring the value up. Those are called value add properties. That's one lane. And then another lane that I play in is campus property, type A properties downtown of cities or campus area of really good universities. So those are 2 lanes that I play in. I get a lot of different opportunity from other people saying, hey, you want to look at the single family in Wichita, Kansas? No, I don't. That's just not my lane that I want to play in. So I encourage you, as new agents, when you're talking to your people, be asking those questions. Now, I will tell you, when we're working with investors love to waste realtors' times. And there's investors that will buy, and there's investors that want to buy, meaning that they want to do it and they want to be wealthy or whatever their dreams are. Yet when you tee up a deal for them and they don't pull the trigger, that is a cue that they're just probably not a serious investor. Now, I know agents across the country that work with investors, and they charge them a retainer up front. So until they buy something, they're charging a retainer up front, so they're not wasting their time. And then when they buy something, then they get that retainer back to that investor. So just be very aware of investors saying, I want to buy single family, or I want to buy something cheap, or blah, 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 whatever that is. Really be aware of your time, because they will waste your time if they're not very serious. They may say it, actions speak louder than words. So one of the things about short sales, and for today, Terry and I talked a little bit about what are some opportunities, like what can we start to do now to really start to build the relationships that we want, the friendships that we want, etc. And it's really, you're probably hearing lead gen, database, lead follow-up, all these keywords. Now is a more time than ever to get into the people that you know and ask questions. And what I mean by that, real estate is not about selling real estate. It's about developing relationships. And one of the things that you want to start doing, especially if you want to start playing in the distressed properties or playing in the investor world, is start building your team. And what does building your team mean like, or look like? Start having really good title people. I always recommend doing a minimum two title people. Make sure that they understand investment properties. Make sure that they understand short sales and banknotes, or anything that shares distress. Make sure that they closed out those types of loans, or those types of deals, I should say, because those things they're just different. And you want somebody on your side that really can understand from a title perspective. The next person that you'll want to really get into relationship are attorneys. Your attorneys can be your best friend. Now, I'm from Illinois, where I did a lot of short sales, and most of my investment properties that are in the Midwest. The real estate attorneys are on every deal. I'm actually selling a couple of my rental properties back there right now because I'm freeing up some capital to buy some other things. I'm going all through a real estate attorney. That's just how it is there. Now, I know in Utah that's not the way. However, there's a lot of good real estate attorneys here in the area. Start to befriend them. Start to have conversations with them. The biggest asset that you can be to an investor or your clients is understanding the foreclosure process here in Utah. From when a person gets filed a foreclosure notice to when it goes to a sheriff's sale for a foreclosure sale. Start to really understand that process, and this will actually start to have the conversations with your sellers or your friends or whoever that may be in a distressed situation. Another couple of attorneys to really start to befriend, if you have them, is estate attorneys, probate attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys. And probably the number one reason in 08, 09, 2010, almost the Great Recession, number one reason people were doing short sales was divorce. They were buying houses with two incomes, especially in a high price area like here, buying properties with two incomes. They get divorced. Now they're separate incomes, and each people cannot typically handle their own house if they're getting divorced. So divorce attorneys would be a great target to start having relationships with and start to ask those questions about anybody in a potentially distressed situation. Short sale negotiator. My company is a short sale negotiator. There's other short sale companies out there that negotiate. If they're talking about taking a commission from you or a referral fee during a short sale process, they're the wrong company. That we do not do that. We charge for the buyer, we charge a fee to the buyer to negotiate the short sale, allowing both agents on both sides of the transaction to get their full commission from the bank. So a short sale negotiating company would be a good way to get in relationship with. Trusted local real estate agents. There's going to be a lot of agents when you start to go down this road, or if you decide to go down this road, there's going to be a lot of agents out there that just don't know about short sales or know how to do it. I would bet 70, maybe even 80% of our agents in this market in Salt Lake have not had their license longer than 10 years. And if that's the case, which I'm guessing it is, and Terry may shine a different light on this, chances are they don't know what short sales are. So if you can be the first ones to talk to your colleagues, talk to the people around you about distressed properties and short sales, they will refer you clients. That was actually one of my biggest referring sources when doing short sales, was other agents. Other agents would want us to do the short sale. We either negotiate it and they would be a part of it, or they don't want to be a part of it and we just would pay a referral fee on that. So that would be another, probably the biggest team members that you want to create during these distressed properties, your vendors, your plumbers, your home inspectors, your electricians. I would say my biggest vendor was two people, was a handyman that could patch up windows if they were broken, and then a garbage removal company. You'd be amazed how many people just leave their house with all their stuff. So I kept my garbage company removal people in business because they just helped me remove stuff. So this is really about building your all-star team and start developing the relationships. So if and when you come across somebody or someone that's in a potentially distressed situation, you have the resources that you can call and say, I have this challenge, or I have this issue, or I'd like to bounce something off you, or have you seen this before? That your trusted advisors will give you good guidance on where to turn to and give you good advice on what to do for that. Now, who do we start to target for some of those businesses that potentially could be distressed? Now, here in Utah, I know, and I see this weekly, is from your title company, you can start to see who is a foreclosure filing. They send out a list, so get with your local title person. I know Michelle Harris with Real Advantage is a great title person. They can set you up on I think it's a weekly or monthly email where they get recordings of all of the people that have had a foreclosure filing recently or for that period of time. Now, why is that important? It's important because that's the start of a short sale. That's the start of a foreclosure. So if you can get to those people, or you know some people on those lists, pick up the phone and call them and just say, hey, I saw you hit this list. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to help. And as a licensed real estate professional, I want to give you good advice. If you're not to that point yet where you can give good advice, get somebody on the phone like myself. I'll be happy to handle a call like that. Terry would be happy to handle a call like that, or some other people in your office that are familiar with that. Just get other people involved so you can start to understand the process for that. And there's also some tools out there that you can probably use. I haven't really vetted the tools yet. Again, short sales were very prominent in 08, 09, 2010. I believe that they're coming here in the next 3 to 6 months. So some of these tools that I give you, they may be good, they may be not. Just be on the lookout for them and maybe do your own research on them. But realtytrack.com was one back in the day that had decent information. I'm seeing Zillow's having actually, out of all people, having decent information. Just depends on the area. They're able to see the foreclosure filings for those areas. County records, sheriff's departments. Actually, a really good tool that I've seen is called Land Glide, G-L-I-D-E, Land Glide, where you could actually type in an address and right there on your phone, it can pull up all the information. It is a paid subscription. It just seems to have really good information for that. Looking up information, Spokio, Cole Realty. I heard another one called beacon.schneidercorp.com as one. I have no idea who that is. A friend of mine that is doing short sales as well. He said that's a good resource for that. So those are some tools that you can actually look into in helping you better identify some of these potential opportunities out there. Now, the biggest opportunity though, and I'm just going to be real frank with you, is the people that you know and like you and trust you, your database. I mean, start having these conversations with your people, because there's a good chance people in that database are struggling financially. And quite frankly, they just don't know where to turn. And it's our fiduciary duty as licensed real estate professionals to protect them. And a lot of times when everything is appreciated so quickly here, they can probably do a short sale and still walk away with equity in their home. Let me back up. They probably can save themselves from doing a short sale because they have the equity in their home. And the farther that they put their head in the sand, and the farther that they don't pay their mortgage payment, and the farther that they go into foreclosure, that equity goes away really quickly. So if they raise their hand and say, hey, I'm in a financial situation, chances are they may have equity, don't need to do a short sale. You can list their home quickly, so they can walk away with dignity and walk away with money in their pocket. So you really got to be on the point with some of your people, and be able to ask the questions. And again, this could be a tough conversation. I'll be fully transparent. I had some family and some close friends had to do a short sale on their properties back in the day, and it was some challenging conversations. Yet we're there to help them, and we're there to help and serve them for their property. Now, what's typically the process of a short sale? And again, the short sales can last 3 weeks. They can last 3 years. It just depends on what bank and what the situation of the seller is. Yet there's 3 things, and I want you to write this down. There's 3 things that qualify a seller for a short sale. So if you're talking to someone and someone says, hey, I want to do a short sale, or I'm in a financial situation, got to find out these 3 things. Number 1, are they in a financial hardship? Have they lost their job? Are they in a divorce? Have their income on their job been drastically reduced? Are they in debt where they may file bankruptcy? You know, that's the first thing. They've got to have some kind of financial hardship. The second thing is they got to be willing and able to work with you, meaning that they have to be cooperative. Are they saying, hey, I want to do a short sale and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to do that? Or are they saying, I want to do it, and then they stick their head in the sand and they're just not communicative? So they really have to be cooperative. So that would be number 2. And then number 3, they have to be insolvent. And are they broke? Can they afford to have their house? Do they have cash in their bank? Do they have other assets that may be able to pay for it? Are they talking bankruptcy? If they're talking bankruptcy, that is a light water to tread on, because if that property goes into bankruptcy, they can't do a short sale. It just would go into foreclosure because the bankruptcy laws protect that person. So really the top 3 things is a financial hardship, are they cooperative, and are they insolvent? Do they have assets? Do they have cash? If all 3 of them say, yes, I have a financial hardship, yes, I want to do this, and yes, I'm broke, potentially, then they would be a good candidate for a short sale. I remember one time I'd get calls all over the country and do short sales all over the country. And I had one guy out of Florida. I still remember the conversation. We started diving into his assets. And I said, sir, do you have any cash? He goes, well, I got cash. I said, how much? He said, $100,000. I said, yeah, our conversation is pretty much done. You're not going to qualify for a short sale. Just because you want to doesn't mean that you are going to for that. And reasons why sellers should do short sales is that it takes a less hit to their credit, and it takes a less hit to their ultimate buying power down the road. But foreclosure is on your record for up to 10 years. And once it goes into foreclosure, a bank will probably sue that seller for deficiencies. And typically what happens when a seller gets sued for deficiencies, then they end up going into bankruptcy, which is 7 years. So I call foreclosure forever. I mean, foreclosure is on your record for a long time. With a short sale, it takes a little bit of hit to your credit, and typically you can, depending on how quickly you work to get your credit back up, you can actually buy within the next 2 to 3 years after a completed short sale. So it's just much more helpful for a seller to work through it, the process, and to be able to move their credit score forward, and then they could actually buy a lot sooner than later for that. Okay. So I know I threw a lot of information at you. I think Terry, you had me at about an hour. No, I'm just kidding. About 20 to 30 minutes. I think this is just really start to scrape the tip of the iceberg of distressed properties. Really start to understand what a short sale is, who to start surrounding yourself with, and where may be some opportunities out there that you can have conversations with people. Because if this hits here in Utah, which I think it will, I mean, that's just my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong, the first person that tells the best story wins the game. It's kind of like Gary Keller talking about this. And when we could start having those conversations quicker than or sooner than later and start talking to people about these types of situations coming, we could be their established expert and we can have the opportunity for them. So I'm opening up to questions. Any thoughts, comments? I know I threw a lot of information at you. It looks like it's being recorded, so you can actually go back and re-listen to this or replay this. So any questions, any thoughts, any comments on what I've talked about so far?
Do you guys have any questions? I have lots of thoughts. Thank you, Kyle. That was awesome.
Sure, my pleasure.
I did many short sales back in the day. And so, yes, I mean, it's definitely a process and you want to know what you're doing for sure. So thank you for sharing that stuff. So how you were saying the first person to tell the story basically wins. Do you have any pointers for like scripts or things that we could talk about? Because it does come across kind of as fear, like people are going to be in a fear-based mindset. So how do we reach out to them without completely scaring them too?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, you know, Gary Keller he said that on one of his webinars. He said, whoever tells the best story wins. And on page 58 of the Shift book, it really talks about your message matters. And I'm going to read something real quick. It said, the first principle of lead generation messaging is that your message must match your market. This means that your lead generation message must match the motivation of the buyers and sellers in whatever market you're in. So Terry, back to your question, let's just fast forward 3 or 6 months and we start to see more distressed properties. The conversation has to be to our people. Number one, during this time, we have to do a check-in. Hey, I just wanted to check in again. Check in with them weekly, every other week. I mean, things actually change per week now. Things are changing so fast. So be consistent with checking in. So number one is just checking in. I just want to check in again, make sure the family's good, everybody's good. Is there anything that you need for that? And so that's number one. Number two is, hey, I would like to share some information that I know. And the information is 22 million people are unemployed and 7.4% of homeowners have basically missed their mortgage payment. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what does that mean to you? As your real estate advisor, I'm here to protect the equity in your home. So if you are remotely thinking about selling in the next year or two, you may want to speed that up to start selling now. Because if this starts to hit down the road with people, more foreclosures or short sales that are coming on the market, what that means is inventory is going to go up and prices are going to come down. So if you're thinking about selling in this market, or excuse me, if you're thinking about selling in the near future, let's speed that conversation up to now as opposed to waiting for later, because they could lose 5, 10, 20% of their equity in the next 3 to 6 months. So it's really, back to your question, Terry, the conversation is facts. And you're just there to open the door to the conversation. You're not there to scare them. You're just there to deliver the information on what that could mean to them. One of the things that you as new agents that you have to do, it's a mandatory, especially right now, is watch the market daily. Know your actives, your pendings, your closed, and your price reductions. Watch those daily, because those will start telling a story. And if you can get a hold of that foreclosure list that I was talking about from the title company, start to see those. If there's an uptick in there, things are changing. And I would say in like hot markets like Tucson and some areas on the East Coast of areas of clients that I coach, they started seeing BPOs, which is broker price opinions, where banks will do that when a seller is in foreclosure. They started seeing an uptick of those in the last 6 months. So 6 months ago, they started seeing this. So something was weird going on even before the health scare. So it's our duty, Terry, to update our clients and just say, I'm here to interpret what's going on and interpret what could be going down the road. So if you're thinking about selling, now is the time to do it. Now, buyer hat. What would be the conversation if a buyer says, oh, I'm thinking about waiting? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, do you know what concerns me about you waiting? Well, what is that? Well, the interest rates are really, really low right now. And there's an opportunity to buy right now. 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, we couldn't negotiate a deal from a seller, and maybe now we can. So really, it depends on who you're talking to, Terry, and what that conversation looks like. And even to investors, investors, I'm seeing that, oh, we just want to wait till the market gets worse. Well, why not just set the market? Meaning go in, if you're looking to invest and looking for opportunity, just start making lower offers. I mean, people are motivated, they're scared or whatever. So it's really about having the conversation of who you're talking to about the market that you're currently in with facts. That's the conversation that you should be having with people right now. Does that answer your question? I know that was a kind of a long-winded question, yet there's definitely different areas to talk.
Yes, no, that was a great answer. I wrote down some things on there that I love because the whole come from contribution. So you mentioned protecting their equity, which was something I just hadn't thought about. So that was awesome. And then another note that I wrote down is where you said, as your real estate consultant, I think it's very important that we are consulting them through whatever process or whatever decision they have to make. We're not in this just to list a home or buy a home.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that. Another question that I have, kind of flipping, so I feel like this is going to be an important part of our lead generation, and those notice of defaults, that list from the title company is a great starting point for that. Flipping it to the opportunity for us as agents and potential investors. I know you had mentioned getting your cash ready. I've heard that a lot. A lot of people have said, get your cash ready, be prepared to make a move on an opportunity. What kind of opportunities would you be looking for in this market?
Well, great question. I want to go back to your first question, to talking to people in the market of the moment first.
Okay.
Our people right now, and I want you to hear this loud and clear, whoever's on the call here, is our people need us now more than ever. So it's actually, and this may be bold saying this, we're actually selfish by not reaching out to them because they need our help. And they need to hear an ear of what's going on in the pulse on the market. So I want you to hear that loud and clear. Get out to your database, come from contribution, as Terry said, because we owe it to them. They need us now more than ever to navigate through this. Now, to your question here is what kind of opportunity are you seeing? It just depends on your lane that you want to play in. Now, maybe there's some agents on here that don't have a lot of equity and they don't have, well, I don't have capital to invest. Where I made a lot of my net worth was finding the right deal for an investor and became an equity partner in that deal. So for example, some of the 200 that we bought in 08, 09, I was an equity partner. I found the deal and they made me a part of it. Now I had a role in that investment in managing the property at the time. Yet you find the right deal, you find an off-market seller that is in a distressed situation, or you find a deal that has a lot of equity in it, or an opportunity for your investor. If you don't have cash, have your investors ready. That's where it goes back to building those relationships, talk equity ownership with these people. They will allow you to do that. Now you say, well, how much do I ask? And what does that look like? And there's a lot of questions that we can get into that. Call me. Call Terry. These are things that you could start to build your net worth with little capital to do it. The biggest thing for investing, Terry, especially if we're new investors on here, is understand what a pro forma sheet is, how to analyze what an investment is. What's the cap rate? What's the cash on cash return? I use cash on cash return. I think, me personally, cap rates are a moving target, because one cap rate can be different one block over than the next because of location and some of those things. I use cash on cash return. And so right now, some of the properties that we're looking at nothing at less than an 18% cash on cash return. We're averaging about a 49% return. So it just depends on what is it that the investor wants and what are you looking for. I will tell you, if you take one thing away from this, this is what I want you to take away on investing. Always buy on cash flow. Never buy on appreciation. More people go broke buying on appreciation instead of buying on cash flow. So, set a standard. If it's an 8% or more, then you'll look at it. If it is, for me personally, Terry, if it is a 10% more, 10% cash on cash return or more, I'm looking at it. If it's anything less, I won't even look at it. So I'll run some quick numbers and see what the return on it is. If it's 10 or more, then I will investigate it further and then see if it fits in with my business plan and my model, my lane, if you will. And if it doesn't, I may kick it over to somebody who wants that, or it's in their lane. It's a great opportunity. There's a lot of deals out there, and there's different investors that buy different things. So again, get into relationship with the investors and really figure out what their lane or what circle do they play in, and be able to pitch them the deals. If it's not your deal that you want to invest in, be able to pitch them for commission, equity ownership, whatever that looks like. So that's kind of a loaded question on like, what am I looking for? I'm looking for an opportunity, and I'm looking for value. For me personally, as an investor, it's value add. So I like the turd properties, the things that are just turds, that are just yuck. People don't want to look at them. They need a lot of work to them. That, to me, I'm raising my hand because that's the biggest opportunity. And the other thing too on this is when you invest, it's all in the purchase. You make your money on the buy. You don't make your money on the backside. You make your money on the purchase. And as long as you're buying it right at a market value or lower, I should say lower than market value, then it's a no-brainer, moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you. Can you elaborate a little bit more? You said you would do a quick calculation.
Yeah.
Is there something super easy that we can have in our toolbox just to run those numbers very quickly?
Yeah, I've got just a quick one-page Excel spreadsheet. I just put some numbers in, and it all calculates everything: the taxes, deferred maintenance, what's the CapEx, meaning how much money do I need to put in the property, what's the rental income amount potentially, what's the future potential of the rental income, what's occurring being rented right now. If I left it at this type of property, what could I get rent? And then if I put more into it, what could I get the rents for it? So yeah, it's just a one-pager. I'm happy to send that out to you. It's pretty easy. It just, you put in some numbers, you got to put in the taxes, you got to put in some of the things there, and then it spits out a cash on cash return. So that's what I use. And if that's 10 or greater, then I start to look deeper into the property, like what exactly is the location, what's the upside, what's the downside. Again, I'm uber conservative. Out of all the properties that I've purchased, I made one bad purchase, and I lost about 13 grand. It's my fault. It was on me. I was a newer investor, and after that, I haven't lost any money. Knock on wood. So it just, be uber conservative. Be a worst case scenario first, and then anything better. Where investors really start to lose their money is they're attached to the property emotionally, and they buy outside of their lane, meaning that would be like me going and buy a commercial building. I know little to something about it. That's just not my lane. And if I go try to buy something in commercial, I could potentially lose. So really take whatever that you want and you're interested in, and really get to know it and own it. And that's what you start to look for as a personal investor. That's the biggest thing. And the other thing too is get into the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book. If you're remotely interested in investing and grow net worth, all of my clients that I coach, that's not even a discussion. We discuss what their net worth is and how many properties they're going to buy. And as we coach them through that, I help them run their the analysis on the properties, and really making sure that it's a good investment for them, and that it's getting them towards their future goal. So really dive in and understand it before you really start to play it. Warren Buffett, I think he read books, like I forget how many books he read before he even started investing in the stock market. So really start to understand it, own it, ask a lot of questions, be around it, talk to people who are playing in that arena, and just really start to become a student of the game.
Awesome. Do you guys have any other questions in relation to distressed properties or investments, anything like that for Kyle?
Yeah, don't be shy.
You guys are shy today. I'm not seeing any videos.
Yeah, no kidding.
Monday morning, I guess.
No, that's an excuse.
Anyone? Are we still there?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it just Kyle and I?
Here's the one thing I would say. Those who, if you don't have any questions, please chime in if you have questions. I'm here for you. Like I said, I'm in this market here, so I'm around. You can always call me, or email me if you need anything. you have put together an action item. What's the first thing that you would do in the next 24 hours that can help you better understand distressed properties and or investing? You have an 85% chance of doing it if it's done in the next 24 hours. So I challenge you, whoever's on this phone call, write it down of what you want to accomplish in the next 24 hours and do it. Whether it's reading a book, whether it's calling some of your people to outline building a team, whether it's calling your title person to get the notice of defaults, whatever that looks like, write it down and do it in the next 24 hours.
Love it. Great piece of advice. Can we bug you for 5 more minutes?
Absolutely, I'm yours.
Awesome. Since we have you and you are a coach across the country for Keller Williams, if we had just a 3 to 5 minute coaching call, what would you tell us to do in relation to not necessarily distressed properties, but our business right now? Some of us maybe are having a funky mindset, or maybe some of us are great, but what would you coach in 5 minutes that we should be doing right now in our business?
Well, there's a bold law called be, do, achieve. It used to be be, do, have. And we do a lot of the do's and the achieves, yet we don't focus on the be. So number one is, who are you becoming through all this? Where's your mindset? You know, I was on a transformational call. Every Monday, it's open to everyone with the director of transformational coaching with MAPS. It's an amazing call. Went through a breathing exercise after the call. I was like, wow, that really got my mind right. And then also every morning at 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, James Shaw, who's a bold coach, does pivot and shift ahead in his Facebook group. Again, it's about mindset, just really getting our mind right for the morning. That would be number one. So in order to be and do the things that we have and want to achieve, we have to become a better person, really become better, get more educated. So it's really about getting right, mentally, and really setting ourselves up for success. The first thing in what I would do right now is look at all your expenses and cut, if you're not doing that already. Cut business expenses, personal expenses, really do an audit of your credit card statements, your bank statements. And I do have a four color exercise that I did a recording. And if you want it, Terry, I'm happy to send that to you, where it's
I would love that.
It's a basic exercise, how you can do it. In 3 days, I gave myself a $23,000 pay raise just by cutting out things that I was very intentional on in cutting, subscriptions or things that I was buying personally, just very intentional. So I would say get real, get right, start cutting your expenses and really focusing on that and getting lean with that. Number two is self-care. How are you taking care of yourself? And what kind of schedule are you on right now? We're all off schedule. We've been knocked off our game the last 6 weeks. Get on a schedule. I mean, that is getting up at the same time, showering, getting dressed, even if you're going into your home office. Get on a routine and a schedule. Our whole lives are built around routines. And this last 6 weeks, we've been out of routine. So I would say quickly as possible, get on a routine as much as you can. I know we're math teachers at home, we've got students at home. We're doing all these things, really work hard to get on a schedule for that. The next thing would be, if you have transactions, and I'm calling this kind of the agent playbook, Terry. If you have transactions, bulletproof your transactions. Tactic 12 in the shift book talks about bulletproofing your transactions. Call daily. If you have transactions, be on top of this, and you may have to do work on the other co-broking agent. There's a lot of weak agents out there, so you may have to do double the work just to get the deal to the finish line. For that, follow up on your pipeline. Whoever is really that has raised their hand and said, "Hey, I want to buy or sell," reach out to them, call them, see what their goals are for the next 3, 6 months, a year, etc. Have conversations with them. So that would be one, following up with your pipeline. If you have listings, really pay attention to price reductions. So that would be another thing. Price reduction, reduce all your listings, and making sure that they're priced right. Those are the low-hanging fruit. That's where it can put money in our pocket right away. So in a shifting market, there's not a let's test the market. It is really about price and making sure that you're pricing it correctly. And then the last thing, Terry, would be just follow up your database. Lead with service. Lead with your heart. service first, sales second, and just making sure that you're the top of mind. I've got a client that I coach, and she said, I get nothing from my database. There's no business that's coming from my database. I said, is that 100% true? And she said, no, it's not. I said, okay, for the next 30 days, we're going to call our database. We're going to do our calls. We're going to do care calls. She's like, I don't know why we're doing this, And about a week ago, she's like, I don't believe it. I'm like, well, what is that? She's like, just this week, I booked almost $2 million in business. I said, oh, really? When did you start those? Where did they come from? And when did you call them? She said, they came from my database, and they came from 30 days ago when I called them. So it may not, it may not happen in that call. It's really about top of mind. And this is a game of follow-up and staying in touch. And we as a society are a now society. Amazon, it's on our doorstep the next day. We want something, we can go buy it. We are a now society. Real estate is not a now. It can be. Oh, that's loud. Who's that? All right, that's one. All right.
And I could mute everyone, but I want to do it.
Anyway, that's the thing. This is a long-term game. Hey, Melee, it's her. You can't mute her?
I'm trying to mute her. I can't.
You should be a co-host.
Okay, there we go.
There you go. Yeah. This is not, it can be now where you call them up and you get results. Really focus on your lead measures. 4 disciplines of execution. Focus on your lead measures. Focus on the things that you can control. Focus on the things that you can talk about. Controlling the conversation. Move in. So this is a long-term game, and just by following people on a daily basis. Wow.
Sorry. It unmuted.
Just click on it. It should say click on her name. There you go. So yeah, so that would be the thing to do. So really those points, listings, pipeline, lead gen, care calls, self-care, for that, and really get on a schedule. Those are some things that I would coach to right now. And quite frankly, I still coach to that. So every week we're going through those points, doing a checkup from the neck up. Hey, where's your pipeline at? How many more people did we add to it this week? What's our lead gen? Who do we reach out to? How's our listings? Are they all priced right? Et cetera. So we want to make sure that we're doing all those things.
Awesome. Thank you.
My
so
pleasure.
stick with the basics and lead with your heart is what I just heard.
Yes, lead with your heart.
Awesome.
Exactly right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Kyle. I really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
you. I took like a whole page full of
Nice.
notes. So I got lots of value.
Good.
Does anybody have any other questions? We'll give you one more shot at questions and before we wrap up. I'm hoping you guys got some great value today. I know I did. And like Kyle said, in the next 24 hours, take action on something. And it can be as simple as calling the title company and asking for that list if you have any interest at all. So
I've got one question, Terry.
Okay.
Looks like we have 11 people on here, including myself. What is the one takeaway or one thing that you heard from today's call that brought value to you? To everyone on this call. One piece, one lesson, one value add, wow, that was an aha moment.
I really liked the short sale, basically the top 3 things that you can ask for sellers to see if they're ready for it. I think that's super important because you got to weed out all those people that want to waste your time, and talk is cheap. So that was good for me.
Good. Great. Thanks for contributing, Jessica. Appreciate it. Anyone else?
The importance of building your team. I didn't even think about all the different types of people just outside of our office that could be helpful in not only short sales, but, just in growing my business. Only being in this for a few months now, I need to start making more connections with people outside of our office and really start focusing on building my team.
Great nugget, Tiffany. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? Bueller? Bueller. Just kidding. All right, sounds good. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, Terry. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm over here by the district here, and if you guys ever need anything, or you just want to call or work through anything, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, give me a buzz. I'm here for you. So whatever you guys need.
Awesome.
Okay?
Okay, thanks,
All
Kyle.
right.
Appreciate
My
your
pleasure.
time.
Have a great
Have a good
day.
one.
Talk to you soon. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye.